The first two Guardians of the Galaxy films were some of the best Marvel movies of recent years. Visually stunning and full of memorable characters, hilarious dialogue and well-chosen soundtracks. When James Gunn was briefly fired by Marvel, it looked like the third volume would end up being the odd one out. But thankfully they got him back, and it makes for a fine conclusion to the trilogy. Anyone in the future watching all three Guardians movies back to back might end up being a bit confused, as the team have been through 2 Avengers movies and a Thor movie since Volume 2. On top of that, they've also settled down in the Nowhere asteroid and adopted a talking dog called Cosmo, as you may have seen in last year's holiday special on Disney+. The lead character in the movie is arguably Rocket Raccoon. He's incapacitated for most of it, but there are extensive flashbacks telling his origin story as a victim of the High Evolutionary's experiments. These are really the emotional heart of the movie, and any animal lovers are likely to be sickened at what these poor creatures are put through. The vocal performances of all the animals involved are incredibly affecting, and combined with the stunning CGI to make for some incredibly memorable scenes. While Rocket is busy having flashbacks, the rest of the team are tearing around the galaxy, trying to save his life, which gives their usual wacky exploits a bit more of an edge. It's the final movie, so it seems extremely possible that they could kill off Rocket, or indeed any other member of the team. There are the usual impressive variety of environments, from the Orgosphere, which seems to be built out of flesh and bone, to Counter-Earth, a world inspired by 1950s suburbia and populated by animal-human hybrids, which provides a lot of the humour of the movie. In the comics, Counter-Earth first showed up in the Adam Warlock series, and the character makes his screen debut here, played by Will Poulter. I was looking forward to this, as Adam Warlock has an extremely long and interesting history in the comics, which would be fascinating to see on screen. But here he seems a bit superfluous to requirements. He has a bit of a redemption arc, starting out as a villain and ending up as a hero, but for most of the time he comes across as just comic relief, a big dumb idiot with powers. Hopefully any future appearances in the MCU will flesh out the character a bit more. Chukwudi Iwuji as the High Evolutionary is an excellent choice of villain. His extensive use of animal experimentation makes him thoroughly dislikable, and the actor gives a fine performance. He was already very strong in James Gunn's Peacemaker series, and here he shows his range, as an obsessed mad scientist who wants to play God for the universe. Hopefully this won't be the last we see of him. Chris Pratt as Star-Lord is a much more mature character than he was in his earlier appearances. The loss of Gamora, combined with the potential loss of Rocket, really spurs him on to become a proper team leader for once. Bringing back Zoe Saldana as the time-displaced Gamora from Avengers Endgame is another aspect that will confuse future viewers of the trilogy. But fortunately their relationship does not develop as you might expect, and both characters end the movie in a much better place. In fact, all of the characters get to have something of a happy ending, which you might not expect at certain points in the movie, as they're all placed in life-threatening situations. By the end, all the characters feel like they've grown and developed significantly since the first movie, and it feels like their arcs have come to their natural conclusions. There is a new Guardians of the Galaxy team revealed in the post-credits scene, but the lack of big-name stars suggests that they won't get their own movie, but maybe they'll be given their own series on Disney+. Chris Pratt has said he wants to play Star-Lord again, so I guess he may turn up in one of the next Avengers movies as the elder statesman of the group. The musical choices are again a high point. After 2 movies based around eclectic songs from the 1970s, this one brings things back up to date, starting with an excellent acoustic version of Radiohead's Creep that I had never heard before, and carrying on with everything from the Beastie Boys to Florence and the Machine. Even the most familiar tracks are made to sound a lot different when used in appropriate moments. James Gunn's soundtrack choices are always spot on. Overall, this makes for a satisfying end to the trilogy, delivering the same mix of action and humour, but adding new layers of emotion and bringing it all to a satisfying conclusion. It might not have the same impact as the first movie did, but it's definitely a big improvement over the second. Now that James Gunn is in charge of DC movies, it's likely there won't be another Marvel movie like this, which is a definite shame. But the thought of the next batch of DC movies being as good as this is certainly something to look forward to. Thanks for watching. My next movie review probably won't be until June, but there's plenty I want to see in that month, with The Flash, Spider-Verse and the new Indiana Jones. So please subscribe if you want to catch my reviews of all of those. See you soon.